Look, sounds good.
Here I have two images I'd like to combine together. And the woman on the right, I'm going to add to the photo that's behind it. The problem is the photo that is behind has a warm color cast to it. It's what I call a desirable color cast, where I don't want to get rid of that. But if I bring in this image, which does not have that color cast, it might not look like it belongs there. So let's grab a selection that I made earlier. I used the extract command to isolate her, and I'm going to drag her over with the move tool to that other file. And if you look at that, it's at least obvious to me that she doesn't have the warm feeling of the image that's behind her. So it's either that she's standing there with different light hitting her, or it looks like you did it in Photoshop. And so I want her to have the same warm feeling as the other image. So I'm going to hide the layer that she's on. And let's go back to the other image and figure out how exactly to get the same color cast in here. The first thing I'll do is get rid of my selection because I want to work on the entire image. And now I'm going to go into Curves. And Curves has a feature designed to perform color correction. You access it by clicking on the Options button. We're going to have it do the opposite. Instead of color correcting the image, we're going to have it introduce a color cast. To do that, I'm going to move the Curves dialog box over so it doesn't obstruct my view of the images, and I'll click on that Options button. Here's the automated color correction window, and in there we need to set it up a special way. At the top there are three choices, and what we could use, we want the bottom of those three choices, and we want this checkbox to be turned off. And now what we can do is Photoshop is going to make the darkest portion of the image whatever color appears in this rectangle, and it's going to make the brightest area of the image become whatever color appears here. And when you have a color cast, that color cast usually sneaks into the shadows and the highlights, which are areas that usually don't contain much of any color. So we're going to end up changing those. So what I'm going to do here is move this over so that it doesn't obstruct my view of the image. And I'm going to click here on the shadows rectangle. When I do, it's going to bring up a color picker, allowing me to choose exactly what color I want my shadows to be. Now behind this is the image I'm working on, and it's somewhat obstructing my view of the image we want to match, as is this color picker. So I'll move this color picker over, and then I'm going to zoom out on my picture. If I zoom out, the image will get smaller and smaller, revealing more of the image that's underneath it. I'll do that by typing Command minus on a Mac. That would be Control minus in Windows. And now I get a nice view of what's underneath. Might even move my color picker back over a little bit, because this area here will show me the color I'm choosing. Now the idea is to click on a dark portion of this image, an area that is almost black but not quite. Because black wouldn't have any color in it, we need something just a little bit lighter than black in order to be able to pick up the color. So I could try this light fixture here and click on it and see if I can see any difference here. To me it looks like it's black. So instead I'll go for an area a little bit lighter, maybe up in this area. Click, and now I don't know if you can tell or not, but this area here has got the slightest hint of red in it. I could go a little bit lighter if I want a little bit more color to be introduced into the image, but I can see a slight hint of red in here compared to what's below it. So I'll click OK. Now I've determined what color the dark portion of the image will be, and now I'm going to click on this rectangle next to the highlights. And again I get a color picker. You can't see the whole thing, but it's there. And I'm going to this time move into the bright portion of this image. I want to avoid areas that are solid white because there's no color in there, but something a little bit darker than that, where it's not blown out. So if I try to hit this candle's flame, I'm guessing that's going to be white. So when I click, I see no change in these two colors here, indicating it is white. So instead I'll go for a bright area in here. I could try up here in this light fixture to see if it's white. Now see there, I picked up some color. Do you see it over in this area? And that's the color we can use in the bright portion of the image. So I'll click OK here, and then I'll move over my automated color correction dialog box, and you'll see that it's hard to tell, but this is a little bit reddish black, and my highlights are going towards a yellowish orange. I'll click OK. And then I'll bring Curves back in here, and I'm in Photoshop CS3, so it shows me the result of those changes with these different colors here. But you can ignore that, just click OK. it's going to ask you if you want to save those colors to use them all the time. And if you ever do automated color correction, I suggest you click no. Otherwise, every single time you perform color correction, you're going to be introducing this yellowish orange cast. We just want to use it this one time, so I'm going to click no. All right, now let's try to drag over our image again. I'll zoom in on it again so we can see it full size. And I'm going to try to get my selection back. This is a selection again I made using the extract command earlier. I'm going to now click with the move tool on her and drag over to the other image. And let's position her down here. And let's see if that looks any better than the other version we had. To me, she looks like she has a slight warmth to her. I might have been able to get a little bit more color had I gone into a little bit brighter area in the shadows. But let's take a look and compare it to what we had earlier. I'll turn on the layer that I had added earlier, and I'll slide her over so we can compare it. Actually, I gotta click on a different layer. Okay. But if you compare those two, to me, the image on the left looks much more like it belongs in this photograph than the image on the right, because it has the same warm color cast that the image has behind it. The key to making it happen is to make the highlights and the shadows be the same color in both photographs. Because when you have a color cast, the highlights and shadows are usually areas that don't contain any color, but that color cast will appear in those areas.